What I have not told my family about the meaning of time. Hello and welcome to the Existentialist YouTube video channel. I am Donald Harvey Marks, a physician scientist, a believer in reason, ethics, and healthcare access. My Existentialist podcast series is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many other sources. My YouTube vlog channel, which you're listening to now, is at DHM49. I invite you to visit my personal blog, www.dhmarks.blogspot.com, where you can find all of my writings, a list of books I am reading and have recently read and liked, a list of other blogs which I follow, and much more. A recent memorial service honoring an acquaintance provided me with yet another opportunity to reflect upon what are the most important aspects of my life. What do I do with the rest of my life, however much time and life I may even have left? What is most important to me to do now, and what is most important for my family? What does my life really stand for now, at this moment, and what does the life I have led to this point really say about me as a person? We no longer have cable TV at home, having cut the cord, relying on internet TV. One of the news apps always starts by asking, "How much time do you have?" Maybe I am putting too much into that question, but each time I read those words, I realize that none of us, including me, really knows the answer, and few even want to consider it. But that question applies to each of us and to our families, our extended families, even to the very memories of our lives. One asked what surprised him the most about humanity. The Dalai Lama replied, "Man surprised me the most about humanity because he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices money to recoup his health. And then he is so anxious about the future that he does not enjoy the present. The result being that he does not live in the present or the future. He lives as if he's never going to die and then dies having never really lived." Being in the healthcare field, I internalize those reflections of Dalai Lama, and each time I read that response of his, I wonder if he was speaking directly to me. His words make me question whether I do live in the present, whether I have really lived, and what exactly do I live for. My extended family helps me in understanding the context of the Dalai Lama's response and gives me a structure to frame its meaning. In this context, I am reminded of the recent and most excellent poem, The End, by Mark Strand. Not every man knows what he shall sing at the end. Watching the pier as the ship sails away, or what it will seem like when he's held by the sea's roar, motionless there at the end, or what he shall hope for once it is clear that he'll never go back. When the time has passed to prune the rose or caress the cat, when the sunset torching the lawn and the full moon icing it down no longer appear, not every man knows what he'll discover instead. When the weight of the past leans upon nothing, and the sky is no more than remembered light, and the stories of Cirrus and Cumulus come to a close, and all the birds are suspended in flight. Not every man knows what's waiting for him, or what he shall sing when the ship he is on slips into darkness, there at the end. In her deeply reflective poem, Everywhere, Carol Snyder Halberstadt wrote, "I have no more time to linger on my dreams of all that might have been. No more time to tell that time does not exist or turns and twists upon itself as our smallest whirling particles of cells, held like galaxies by gravity, expand, explode until the stars collapse. Gravity is what I know as time runs out and sand runs down its unturned hourglass. No time to tidy or sort, no time to do what's been postponed, as if once strong, time would never stop. Time is a mayfly's day for everyone, eternity and everywhere. In the 1993 movie Groundhog Day, one of my favorites, an arrogant Pittsburgh TV, Pennsylvania weatherman is assigned to cover the actual Groundhog Day event in Puxtawney, Pennsylvania. Trapped by the very snowstorm he predicted would not appear, he finds himself caught in a time loop, repeating the same day again and again. At first, he indulges in acts of wild self-satisfaction and pleasure because one can do those things if you are sure that you will awake with a complete reset. In desperation, he turns to suicide numerous times to escape the time loop which binds his hands and coils around his neck. But even death cannot provide relief from his Sisyphus-like destiny. Soon he becomes bored with a fixed, predictable immortality and realizes that he must examine his life and his priorities. Only after realizing and accepting his meaning for life, his place in the universe, his place that must be in sync with the flow of life, is he finally able to escape to a greater freedom than he has ever known. For those who are caught in the hell of a meaningless repeat of daily life, awaken, shower, eat, work, eat, repeat, our lives can become our own Groundhog Day. We can search for an eternity until we are lucky enough or insightful enough to find our exit lane from an endless Groundhog Day. In one of my favorite Star Trek Voyager episodes, Year of Hell, the Krenim scientist Anorax develops a gigantic ship-based time weapon to cause temporal incursions that he plans to use to erase certain events from history and thereby strengthen the Krenim Imperium. However, the resulting changes he creates inadvertently cause a plague that kills millions of Krenim, including his wife. This is unacceptable collateral damage, and for the next 200 years, Anorax seeks unsuccessfully to reverse the plague he inadvertently caused, to restore the Krenim species and thereby to bring his wife back to life. His crew realizes the folly in his obsessive approach, but he lacks the necessary insight and cannot. Anorax destroys the Starfleet ship Voyager, but doing so causes the Krenim time ship's temporal core to destabilize and explode. This erases the time ship from history, and yet another massive temporal incursion, thereby resetting the timeline for Anorax, for Voyager, and for everyone, everywhere. In the new timeline, Voyager again ventures into Krenim space, but this time the captain of the Krenim warship is moderate. He advises Voyager that this area of space is under dispute and suggests they avoid it. Anorax in this timeline is seen working diligently in his study. His wife enters and asks him to enjoy the day with her. He hesitates for a moment, then decides that he can make the time for her. Oh, what a moment of perhaps unintended insight. But we know better. They leave while his work remains on his desk, and on it we can see the calculations for his original alteration of the timeline, which because of his wise choices and priorities he ignores. Lots of twists and turns, but several good insights and life lessons that reach down to my core. When a loved one asks for your time, don't hesitate like anoraks, for opportunities like that are definitely finite. Opportunities to reach back and change time and outcomes just don't exist. We can live in what seems to us like our own individual Groundhog Day, each day seemingly the same as the next. But in real life, that never really occurs. Once said, words cannot be unspoken. Actions cannot be undone. Results cannot truly be unforgotten. Therefore, choose what you say and do carefully. Beware of unintended consequences and be not accepting of collateral damage because it could be to you or your loved ones. Ultimately, and too soon, each of us will be merely memories waiting to be recapped by speakers delivering a eulogy at our memorial ceremony, and then too soon forgotten. That is the way life works for all of us, the way our universe is set up and runs. And it can't be changed, and it's unreasonable and delusionary to think it can or should be changed. But perhaps we can somehow affect the outcomes. I think we can perpetuate our life's meaning, if that is of meaning to us, to continue our memory survival by making our extended family stronger and ensuring their survival. Each of us can, therefore, resolve to invest our time, our efforts, and our resources into making the actions and the memories of our lives as meaningful as possible for those we care most about. Support those principles that have been the bedrock of your own unique life and work to keep your extended family healthy. Thanks for listening, and I value your feedback.